The city lay in ruin, a graveyard of steel and stone where life had once thrived. Streets that had once bustled with merchants, laughter, and children's games were now choked with ash, broken glass, and the skeletal remains of buildings. The air was thick with the scent of burnt wood and charred metal, a constant reminder that the firestorm had not only destroyed the city, but scarred the very air itself. Elias stepped carefully through the debris, every movement deliberate. His boots crunched over the brittle fragments of glass that had once been windows, reflecting the glow of a proud skyline. Now that skyline was nothing but jagged silhouettes against a gray, lifeless sky. The war had ended months ago, but peace was only a word. There was no true calm, only silence that felt heavier than gunfire. He wasn't here for food or water. Those had become precious and rare, fought over in the corners of ruined streets. No, Elias sought something far more dangerous, the truth. And truth, in a place like this, was worth killing for. Rumors had grown in the dark like weeds, uncontrolled, tangled, and dangerous to those who listened. The official broadcasts painted a clean, simple story. An enemy strike had leveled the city, a merciless attack that no defense could have stopped. But Elias had heard other versions, whispered in the shadows of underground shelters, traded between survivors like contraband. They spoke of evacuation orders that had been issued to select officials and their families days before the firestorm. They spoke of convoys of military trucks leaving the city hours before the destruction began. Trucks not carrying civilians or weapons, but crates of something unknown. Elias had learned to read between the lines of fear. Those who asked too many questions vanished. Those who had seen too much were never seen again. And yet, he kept going, driven by a quiet fury that refused to let the dead be buried under lies. Today, his path led him to the shattered remains of the government archive. Its grand marble facade, once a symbol of stability, was split down the middle, a jagged wound exposing the collapsed interior. Fires had gutted the building, but the thick stone walls had preserved pockets of records inside. Elias moved through the blackened halls, running his fingers over scorched shelves and melted typewriters. The silence here was different, thick, suffocating, as if the building itself was holding its breath. He found what he was looking for deep in the rubble, a filing cabinet half buried beneath a beam. The heat had warped the metal, and the handle burned his hand when he pulled. With a grunt, he forced it open, revealing envelopes stamped classified, eyes only. The paper inside was brittle, edges singed, but still legible. Maps, coordinates, memos, references to Operation Cinderlock. A phrase he had never heard in the official story. Before he could study them, a sound froze him in place. Footsteps. Not the erratic, hurried shuffle of scavengers, but the slow, deliberate pace of armed men who knew exactly where they were going. The building creaked around him, dust falling from the fractured ceiling. Elias shoved the documents into his pack, his mind racing. If they were here for the same reason, and they couldn't find him with the truth in his hands. Slipping into the shadows of a collapsed stairwell, he held his breath as two men passed by, rifles at the ready. Their voices were low, sharp, and urgent. They were hunting. Whether they were soldiers, mercenaries, or something worse didn't matter. Elias had no illusions about what would happen if they caught him. When the way cleared, he moved quickly, keeping to the alleys between broken walls until he reached the open street. The wind carried the faint scent of rain, a rare blessing that would wash some of the ash away. But no rain could wash away the truth he now carried. Somewhere within the pages in his pack was the answer, proof that the firestorm had not been the work of an enemy at all, but of the very people sworn to protect the city. They had lit the match themselves, sacrificing tens of thousands for reasons Elias could only guess. He looked back at the ruins, the skeletal remains of the city against the dim horizon. The truth was buried in these ashes, and if he had to walk through fire again to bring it to light, he would. The hunt had only begun, and Elias was willing to follow it into the darkest places left in the world. Ask ChatGPT.